Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So we're going to be working on our Sunday, I'm going to just call this Sunday layout video. Okay, I'm not doing any type of special technique retake, so I'm just going to call this one for now just a Sunday layout. And I'm using paper from the Cartabella Flora number 2 collection. And all I'm doing is I'm grabbing one of the stencils I have that's, in my stash, and I want to create a subtle background for my layout. And sometimes you want something that's going to stand out or have a lot of texture, like if you're using your crackles paste or your embossing paste and you want like layers of thickness. You can also use regular stamping, but for this particular project, the layout itself it had more of this like rustic or distressed look about it, but I didn't necessarily want to do that completely for this layout. So all I'm doing is taking my black soot and I am rubbing it along basically this is stencil in kind of like this diagonal from top left to bottom right, and then in the center area I try and put a little bit more um, of the color down just so that way we have good coverage. Now that little spot up there, I'm just gonna lay my stencil over it again and try and get that spot like in one of the cracks, so then that way I can cover it and you can't even tell that there was like a little smudge up there. Isn't that awesome? I love stencils. I think I actually have a stencil addiction, but shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, so we're just going to continue to put this black soot all through this particular stencil, working our way to the bottom because I'm going to have a little cluster area down on the bottom right, and then up towards the middle to the left is where the photo and all of the decorating underneath is going to be for that. So for this part here, there's just a lot of basically moving the stencil around and making sure you have good coverage. And if you have a lot of ink on your hands or you're worried about that, I'm just grabbing a tissue to kind of hold down the stencil so that way I'm protecting the pattern paper, the really pretty paper, and not making it so that I have to keep doing extra and extra because I got fingerprints all over it. Now, once I got it layered with enough of the stencil, I'm going to go ahead and grab a few items. One is the borders from the sticker sheet. I knew I wanted to use the scallop one, and I think I'm pretty much going to use the blue and white stripe just to give it a little bit of interest. But I'm just, basing everything off of the sketch that we have and using the items that come within the kit itself, the sticker sheet, the enamel dots, stuff like that. So once I figure out placement for my doily, which I cut in half, and I'm using one half up here, and I'm going to use the other half on the bottom right of the layout. I'm just going to glue this down using my art glitter glue. And on the other one that I'm going to attach, I want it using art glitter glue and a little bit of tape runner. We're just going to lay that down. And then number one tip I can give you guys is as you're working stuff, lay your photo out on it, lay your elements, and just see if everything is tracking. If you got everything in the area that you want it to be in, if everything is going to play out the way you envision. I think it would be horrible to get to the point where you're adding the photo and you realize that everything you've been working on was. In the wrong spot. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the photo. And like I said, I like to save it from fingerprint, so I turn it over and press everything from the back. And then now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to attach, instead of like a tab, I'm using two banners from the ephemera kit that came with the the Flora #2. And I'm going to have that at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead at this point and add the blue and white stripe pattern. And I realized on this side I probably should have put the pattern, the blue and white striped one, down first, but we're going to work it out and fix it, and you guys will see that in a second here. I try to pull this one up because I figured I hadn't pressed it down that hard. It should have come up, but I wound up having to get my picker tool to get that up, and then we're going to put the striped version down. And once I get that taped, then we're going to put the scallop border. I think I wind up putting it permanently up at the top. And remember, our photo is going to go right in the middle there, so that way you won't see those two ends. And before I lay the photo down, I'm going to go ahead and basically lay out the gold thread. Now, I still haven't mastered the gold thread thing, but I just haphazardly lay it down, try and get it to look a little bit like how I'm envisioning it, in hopes that everything will basically work out. And then I tape around my photo and make sure that when I go to lay it down, I'm grabbing as much of those threads as possible. On the bottom right hand side of here, you see where I laid down the gold foiled. It's the other half of the one that we've used underneath the photo, the doily. I'm going to go ahead and start laying on top the same stickers, the blue and white stripe and the scalloped. And I'm leaving a little bit to hang over, and what I'm going to do as best I can, I think I almost, I think I hit the camera in trying to do it, but I just trim from the back so that way I get it nice and flush. And then anywhere where I think the photo is sticking up, I will lay down some art glitter glue. Same thing's true for the scallop piece or the sticker sheets. If anything starts picking up, I'll just use a little bit of art glitter glue to keep it down. So at this point, I'm figuring out, okay, this is the title that I want to use. So I'm going to grab some of the foam squares. And even though this is a sticker, I am going to place, I think I wound up grabbing 5. And I'm putting 1 in the center and then 4 on each end to give the title that we're using a little bit of height, because everything so far has been laid straight to the page. Once we get the backings off, I'm going to go ahead and attach this, which says My Happy Place. And then we're also going to grab, I want to say, do I grab the enamel dots here? I think I do. And what I'm doing with these is I'm going to use my multimedia mat, and I'm going to, even though they have sticky backs, I am going to lay down some of the multimedia mat down for the enamel dots, so that way they have good adhesion to the paper. Because sometimes the adhesive that comes on the back of the enamel dots isn't enough, or doesn't feel like it's enough. So I just do my best to try and do as small a stab as possible, and then just use those dots. point, after covering the photo, I realized I definitely wanted to do some splatters. So I'm just shaking my distress stains, the sprays. I have the black soot, and I also have, um, is it glacier white? No, picket fence. That's what that one's called. And what I'm gonna do is with the black soot, I'm just gonna take it and hit it with my water brush. Oh no, I'm using my everything tool. Wow. Yeah. Well, I guess I just need something to hit the nozzle so that way it does splatters. And then instead of doing the white splatter, I'm gonna wind up using uh, the Tombi the Ganzai Tombi Starry Colors. I originally got these from Scrapbooking with Me boutique a while ago. I don't think we have these anymore. Once I double check, I'll see if they're on the .com. They might be in the sale album or something like that if she has any extras. But I think all of them wound up getting sold. But the starry colors are awesome. They're all golds and they're just different shades. Like some are blue gold, some are red gold. And I just lined it up to see which gold would go great with the doilies and grabbed my favorite block for splatters. It's the right size for me. And all I do is after I let that water sit, I mix it up and put a little bit of the gold paint right on that block. And then I'm going to move the watercolor out the way. And then we're going to go ahead and splatter with that as well. And you'll see I wind up having a big splatter spot, I think up here. It dripped from the bottom of my block. So that was a little annoying, but I left it. I'm like, it doesn't bother me, so I just kept going. And then after I used everything that was on the block, I just grabbed a little bit more from the uh, watercolor that I had put to the side, the gold, and we're just going to flick a little bit more of that around just to give, like I said, that little bit of contrast. And then all I do is right when I'm done, what doesn't matter what I use, if I'm using gesso, if I'm using just regular ink, I always try and clean off my block right away, even though there are still some paint stains on it. The main glass part, I like to make sure it's clean, so that way if I needed to use it for a stamp, I could. So we move our little protective sheet away. I'm just going to dab that little extra dot that I did up there. It kind of looks like a random gold enamel dot just sitting out there, but it's okay. I'm going to slightly turn this so that way I want to make sure you guys get to see everything. I know right now with the way my camera is set up, I lose parts of the picture depending on what I'm working on. And anything 12 by 12, if I made my camera go up higher, then you guys would see my hidden messes over on the sides. So sometimes I have to keep it a little bit tighter. Okay, so we use, just to show again, we use the enamel dots, the ephemera, the foam squares, and the sticker sheet, and the 12 by 12 paper from the March kit. And the only thing I didn't use was the flowers, but there's so many more projects that I plan on making with this that I'm sure you'll see the flowers sooner or later. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And, excuse me. At the very end, I will have links to previous Sunday videos. And if you haven't subscribed, click on my photo and hit that bell so that way you get alerted whenever I have new content. Thanks, you guys, and have a great day. And just a friendly reminder, you guys, make sure if you go to scrapbookingwithme.com, make sure you use my coupon code TT15 so that you can get an additional discount off of your merchandise, off of your purchase, okay? So make sure it's TT15, and I believe it's capital T, capital T 15. And like I said before, if you guys have any comments, make sure you leave them down below. And I hope you have a great weekend.